Hello and welcome everyone. This is Katrina and Aying. So for today we will talk about communication for academic purposes. So now let us define first what is academic communication. Academic communication involves presenting ideas effectively and formally in a scholastic environment, also called scholarly communication. It also refers to methods of communication that are highly structured and generally only used in pedagogical settings. So all in all, academic communication entails efficiently and formally conveying concepts or ideas in a classroom setting. So in short, in school. So for example, this includes essays, reflection paper, research paper, and solutions that we have submitted. So now let us talk about on how to arrive a good academic paper, since mostly students are having a hard time on doing it. So in arriving at an academic paper, first and foremost, select a topic. In selecting a topic, you really need to be careful. Choose a topic that you are interested in. This makes the process more relevant if you care about your topic. Also, it is important because this will serve as your direction, your guide on what to put in your paper. After selecting a topic, formulate a working thesis statement. So, thesis statement provide you a clear, specific argument that gives a reader an idea of what to expect out of your paper. So, the thesis statement serves as backbone of your paper, and you will support the claims that you make throughout the piece. Also, and at the same time, this will also help you as a writer in determining your limitations and when to leave out information that is not relevant. So after formulating your thesis statement, prepare preliminary questions. So preliminary questions, these are the questions that you ask to yourself as well as to the readers when they read your paper. So these are the probable questions like how will I elaborate this? How will I expand this? So after preparing your questions, find sources. Find sources to answer your questions, to support your ideas, and make sure to find a reliable sources. And next, take down and organize notes. So after doing your research, organize the thoughts and ideas you found to make things easier for you. Next, outline your paper. So an outline helps you group your ideas into main points and see their logical connections. Furthermore, outlines break down a text into its main ideas and its supporting arguments or supporting details. So as you write, it can help you identify the weaknesses in your argument. You may realize that you don't have a supporting detail for a main idea or that support you have proposed is not strong enough. Next, draft your paper. So this is where you test your outline and elaborate on ideas to support your thesis statements. It gives you a chance to meld your thoughts together and to further develop your ideas. So each draft you make improves upon the previous one. After drafting, revise and edit. So during revising, you add, remove, or change information in order to improve your content. So and during editing, you go over your words and sentences again and correct any errors in grammar, punctuation, or sentence structure. After revising and editing, check documentation. So this is very important. You need to cite your sources, make your citations and references to any academic paper. So do this to avoid any copyright issues and dishonesty of your work. So next, one of the specific academic paper is a research paper. So a research paper can be a quantitative or qualitative, and it consists of the following part. First, a literature review. So a literature review is a survey of scholarly sources on a specific topic. It provides an overview of current knowledge, allowing you to identify relevant queries, methods, and gaps in the existing research. In this part, it requires a lot of citation and referencing. Next is the methodology. So it describes actions to be taken to investigate a research problem and the rationale for the application of specific procedures or techniques used to identify, select, process, and analyze information applied to understand the problem. Next is the findings. So it is where you report the finding of your study based upon the methodology you used or applied to gather information. It is arranged in a logical sequence without bias. And after findings, you have analysis. So analysis is the most crucial part of research. It summarizes collected data. It involves the interpretation data gathered through the use of analytical and logical reasoning to determine patterns or relationships. After analysis, there is recommendations. So recommendations are based on the results of your research and indicate the specific measures or directions that can be taken. Next, in formal writing, paragraphs are commonly applied to organize longer prose. So a good paper is made up of good paragraph. So a good paragraph has first, unity. So a paragraph with unity develops a single idea thoroughly and links it to the rest of the paper. Second is coherence. So it is achieved when sentences are ordered in a logical manner and when clear transitions link sentences. So next is brevity. So be brief, while at the same time, it covers all the necessary points. Next is emphasis. So it is a careful arrangement of words to give them special weight and prominence. So now you can write a paragraph in either a narrative form, descriptive form, expository, or argumentative form. So first is narrative. So it tells you a story or an event. So the story or events in a narrative paragraphs should be arranged chronologically. It means that in order in which they have happened. Next is descriptive. So it takes something and makes it real for the reader. So you describes a noun or an event. Next is expository. So you provide information, you explain a topic and give directions or demonstrate how something works. And next is argumentative paragraph. So it is when you are arguing for or against a claim or when you're trying to persuade someone to agree with you. So now let us discuss academic writing style. Since we're talking about academic communication, we now have to discuss how to serve that purpose. So for us to easily remember, we come out with the word fish. So F stands for formality, I for impersonality, S for structure, and H for hedging. So let us now go through to each style. So first is formality. So don't use contractions like don't, can't. So you need to use it properly and like do not or cannot. So spell it out. Next, don't use colloquial language or slang. So you like for example, you used cause instead of because. I don't know instead of I don't know. Yeah instead of yes. So these kind of words are informal and must not be used for academic paper. Next, always write as concisely as you can. So again, remember brevity. Next, generally avoid phrasal verbs. So phrasal verbs are composed of two or more words. So for example, you don't say to call around. You say to contact. To check out, you have to say to verify. So it is more formal to use its one-word counterpart. Next is avoid common vague words and phrases. So in everything you say, you must be accurate. It must be detailed. You should be careful and clarify what you say and about what does it means. Next is avoid overuse of brackets. Don't use exclamation marks or dashes. Avoid direct questions. Don't use etc. So mostly we really want to put exclamation marks just to show that we are really excited about something like that, but in academic paper, it is not proper. Next, always use capital letters appropriately and never use the type of language used in texting. So let's try to compare these examples. So the week-long power outages used up the store's entire stock of batteries. So used up is phrasal verbs. So instead of using used up, we used consumed. So the formal type is the week-long power outages consumed the store's entire stock of batteries. Next, she had to go to work although she wasn't okay yet. It is not proper to use contractions. And also like the texting type like capital letter O, capital letter K. And although you need to spell it properly. So the proper way, so the formal type is she had to go to work although she was not okay yet. So the second one is impersonality. So generally avoid personal language. Personal language uses the personal pronouns like I, we, us, you. So you should avoid using the first and second person point of views of pronouns for academic paper because this will sound too personal. Next, never use emotive language. Be objective rather than subjective. So again, we're talking about impersonality. It is more objective when we do not use emotive language. Next, avoid being too dogmatic. So you do not have to be like a nagging mother or to be sound accusing someone. Next, consistently use evidence from your source reading and reference this correctly. So again, you need to cite your resources, credit the author. So this is to avoid any copyright issues. Next, avoid sexist language and avoid he or she, herself and himself, and etc. So let's try to look for the sample. So if you don't know how to navigate through an email commerce site, you will waste a lot of time. So you see, they used you. It is a personal pronoun. And also this sounds too offending. Like the other one, navigating through an e-commerce site can be time-consuming for those who may be unfamiliar with the process. So this second one is the more formal version because it is more objective than the first one. Next, the marketplace is growing so fast. Pretty soon, you'd think the government would address the unresolved issues surrounding e-commerce now. So the formal version is the rapid expansion of the marketplace is more than enough reason for the government to immediately address the unresolved issues surrounding e-commerce. So the second one is more objective. So the third one is structure. Make sure you write in complete sentences. So it means always have a subject and a predicate in your sentence to make it complete. Next, divide your writing up into paragraphs. So paragraphs dictate what kind of paper you're gonna produce, whether it is good or bad. Next, use connecting words or phrases to make your writing explicit and easy to follow. So remember, coherence and cohesion. Next, check your grammar and spelling carefully. So try to read again your paper and edit any errors. So it is important to practice proofreading. Next, use nominalizations and passives. So let's try to look for example. So the economy did not perform well. So the other one, the performance of the economy was dismal. So in the first one, did not perform is a verb and performance is a noun. So the nominalized noun performance is more formal than the other one. Next, the company can use the cost savings to add value to their products. This is an active sentence because the doer is the company. So, to make it passive, the company savings can be used to add value to a company's product. So, the passive version is more formal. And lastly, we have hedging. So hedging is the use of cautious language. So we need to be careful about what we are claiming. So use impersonal subjects. So as what I've said before, don't make it too personal. Next, use passive verbs. So a while ago, we said passive verbs are more formal and it focuses on the receiver. Next, used verbs such as imagine, suggest, claim, and suppose. So, used it especially if you're not really sure about it or it is not a established fact. Next, use attitudinal signals such as apparently, arguably, ideally, strangely, unexpectedly. So, using these hedging devices would actually hint your attitude towards your reader. So next, use verbs such as would, could, may, might, and use qualifying adverbs such as some, several, a minority of, a few, many to avoid making overgeneralizations. Modal nouns, so we have the possibility of, the probability of, the certainty of, the presumption of, the likelihood of. In modal adjectives, we have possible, probable, certain. In modal auxiliary, will, would, may, might, can, could, must, and should. Next, the other verbs. So, appear, assume, indicate, seem, suggest, or tend. And that clause plus combination, we have this indicates that blah blah blah. And these studies suggest that blah blah blah. And it seems probable that blah blah blah. This would appear to be blah blah blah. So again, for academic writing style, just remember fish. F for formality, I for impersonality, S for structure, and H for hedging. So next is the APA citation. So in NTEC citations, these are citations within the main body of the text and refer to a direct quote or paraphrase. They correspond to a reference in the main reference list. So these citations include the surname of the author and the date of publication only. So for example, Jones, 1988. So in reference, it composed of author's name, comma, initials, and period, open and close parentheses, date published, period. Next is the title of source, period. Then next is the location of publishers or publisher. Then retrieve from, URL. So this is used if the source is an online source. So that would be all. I hope you have learned something about our topic for today. This has been Kate Julian and Aying. Thank you for tuning in. Bye!